over the weekend in Week 4, there were a lot of teams that we talked about that made statements. I think one of the teams that made one of the biggest statements across the state are the Bay City Blackcats. And here to talk about his Blackcats is the head coach at Bay City. We're joined by Coach Lupe Florez. Coach, how are you?
I'm good. How about y'all?
We are doing great. Congratulations on your big win over Cameron Yoe on Friday night. I imagine the celebration was a little rowdy.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that rowdy. We just, it's a big win for us, and I'm just blessed that my kids responded when they needed to, and it's just a great night.
You guys,
it's an exhausting night.
yeah, I will say so. You guys are now 3-0 with 3 wins by a combined 3 points. Have you guys, and I know that those are good teams, Belleville's a good team, Sweeney's on the rise, and of course Cameron Yoe this past week. Have you guys given any thought to winning by a touchdown or so?
I told my coaches, I said I would be happy with 2 points this week, but that would probably stress me out as much. So, we played good football. We've got to learn to finish games. We're pretty young, and our kids, they kind of get up and relax. But I've been proud of them. I've been super proud of our defense. When they've had to bow their neck, they do it, and there's probably there's 4 sophomores on our defense playing. So, I'm excited by how they're going to progress as we go.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you specifically about your defense because it feels like that's been the real difference for you guys. What's been the difference this year? I mean, I know you guys had a solid defense last year, but it seems like you guys have found another gear this year.
Well, I think a lot of it is, we've had a change in D.C. and the kids, I don't know how to say it, but I'm tongue-tied, holy cow. Our DC has done a great job working with me, and we making adjustments that in the past we probably wouldn't have made, and it's just, all around, I think the kids have a great belief in him, and we've built great relationships with the kids this year, and they're just giving us everything they had. And I think total effort is the one thing that we're getting out of the kids that we haven't gotten out of them in the last couple of years.
You're there in your here in your 3rd year at Bay City. How has that program? Have you seen that program change since you arrived back there a couple of years ago?
Well, I think our kids are starting to act like us. When you first move in, that you get that honeymoon period because it's a new coach, and we came from winning programs, and they want to believe in us. The 2nd year, you get a little bit better, but they try to test you a little bit more. But I think this 3rd year going into it, we got kids that act like us and think like us, and they spend a lot of time with us, and it's just exciting to be around them.
We're talking with Lupe Florez, the head coach of the Bay City Blackcats here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TFToday. Coach, you guys, you mentioned that you came from winning programs. You specifically came from a program that you beat on Friday night in Cameron Yoe. Was there any thought to maybe giving him the brother-in-law treatment there? I mean, taking it easy on him?
Oh, absolutely not. And I think the last 2 years, that game's been a good test for us. You go watch either one of those games, our kids bring it for that game, and so do they. And the deal is that this senior class that Yoe has was my last freshman class there. And, and these kids that I coach now, they want to prove to me that they were better than Yoe. So it's been a hard-hitting game. Kids have been flying around, and last year we jumped out on them like we did this year, and they came back and took it from us, and our kids were determined that wasn't going to happen this year. And if you hold off the Yeoman, you've done something special, because even when I was there, I was a part of quite a few come behind wins. We were down like 21-6 to Newton going into the right before the half, and ended up taking a lead. We were behind the Conley by 20 points one year. I mean, the Yeomen know how to come from behind, so to hold them off is a big deal.
This game, of course, the win over Yoe, 30-29, decided in overtime. You guys go to overtime, get the ball first, score. Yoe goes down, scores, decides to go for two. I know that they took a timeout right before that 2-point conversion. What did you tell your defense heading into what was essentially the ball game, that final 2-point conversion play?
Well, I just told them to go out there and give everything they got. That their back was against the wall and it was time to go. And I tell you, I felt very comfortable with our kids in that situation because it seems like all year long, the shorter the field got, the better we got on defense. And I think our kids, they play their best football when their back's against the wall. Now we've got to work on playing our best football for every down. So.
You guys have a pretty special junior quarterback who's led your offense so far in Dylan Davidson. As the guy who gets to see him every day in practice, what can you tell us about this young man?
Well, he's a great kid, and he's one of those guys that he surprises the mess out of you on a daily basis. He's goofy and hardworking, but we get out there on the football field, there's situations where we're yelling, throw it away, and he turns it into a touchdown, So he keeps us on our toes and keeps us surprised. We've had to learn he's such a special athlete, we've had to learn how to coach him, we're throwing quick game. We don't even block the O-line. We cut them, the D-line, and you would think he'd have to throw it away, but he'll make all 5 of them miss and then go to the house. So he's a great kid to coach, fun to be around, and he's a heck of a guy.
You mentioned we talked a little bit about your defense. If you look up and down your roster, you mentioned it that it's a lot of juniors, a couple sophomores sprinkled in here as well. But this is a young defense. You do have a couple of guys defensively that you guys are leaning on as far as seniors are concerned. Guys like Adam Smith. Guys like Tavion Roberson. How important are those seniors to the way that your defense has played so far?
They're key, and I tell you, the biggest one is Tavion Roberson. He was a safety for us last year, and we had a real problem stopping the run. And when we got into the Bridge City game, we moved Tavion down to linebacker, and he played lights out. So this year, we kind of built the defense around him, and a lot of the way we shift our coverages and him communicating when we get different looks. He's very important to our defense, and we built this thing around him, and he's done a great job so far running it.
Now I want to take a look forward, because you guys are 3-0, and that's very good. But at the same time, as you well know, that doesn't mean anything until you get to district play, and you guys are up against a very good district. Per usual, District 12 4A Division I looking solid as well. The usual suspects like El Campo, Sealy looks like they could be on the rise as well. As a coach who's going to have to deal with this district all year long, starting very soon, when you look at this district, what are you seeing?
Well, I think it's one of the toughest districts in 4A Division I for sure. We're right up there, with Carthage and Kilgore and those guys, but our districts, it's a little different this year. In the past, it's been more of a run-oriented district. I think it's leaning more toward pass this year, minus El Campo and probably West Columbia. But, it's a tough district. You got to bring it week in, week out. And, this district has been pretty young the last 2 years as far as the players on the field. So, it should be a shootout this year, and we're excited. We've got Stafford coming up first. Stafford's one of those teams, they're so athletic, it doesn't matter what their record is. If you don't play good football, they'll beat you. And so we're trying to get our kids prepared for that and tell them, everybody in district's 0-0 now. There are no wins and no losses. It's us against them, and we got to be ready to play week in, week out.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask you about Stafford, because this is a squad you guys take on this Friday night coming up there at Bay City. But But this is a Stafford team that I think if you look at their record, you go, oh, they're 1-2. They're struggling right now. But it sounds like you know better than that than to overlook this Spartans team, because they've always got weapons, and even though they may be scuffling offensively right now, it looks like this is a team you're going to have to worry about no matter what on Friday night.
Absolutely. I mean, they all the way across the board, they're very skilled, and they went and got beat by Navasota this week. But when you see Navasota on film, that's a team that greatly improved this year from last year. And I mean, Stafford's a good football team, and obviously they're dealing with a little bit of struggles from a head coaching change. But once they catch on, get it going, they're going to be dangerous, and I just hope they wait one more week to catch on.
I think so as well. And then, Coach, I want to ask you one more thing before we let you go. You go by Lupe, and yet
Yes, sir.
Your name is Guadalupe. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's actually Guadalupe Navarrete Flores Jr.
Okay. Why don't you just go by that full name and make everybody pronounce that awesome name every time they talk to you?
Well, I tell you what, I grew up in North Louisiana. I was lucky if they said Lupe right. So
that sounds about right.
Fair enough.
He is Lupe Florez. He's the head coach of the 3-0 Bay City Blackcats. Make sure you go out there and see them Friday night as they take on Stafford in their district opener. Coach, appreciate your time. Congratulations on your great start and your big win on Friday, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
There he goes, Lupe Florez, the head coach for the Bay City Blackcats. I was going to ask him about El Campo, but that's the last game of the year.
So far away.
So far away,
Yeah.
and he'd be like, I haven't even thought about that.
It's coming. I know it's coming. But
It'll be there. It'll be there.
Yeah.
We know it will be. But
serenity now.
But look, I don't know, and it's clear that from his perspective that he's not happy winning 1-point games. Right. But at the same time, for me, and I think I can speak to this as a more of a neutral viewer, somebody kind of removed from the situation. That shows me that you're winning the little things.
Mm-hmm.
And the big things are obviously in place because you're winning the games, but winning at the margins is what's so important. Now, look, you don't want to win every game by 1 point because you're going to get caught. That's what's going to happen.
Right.
But at the same time, early in the year, I'd rather get tested. I'd rather go down to the wire and have to make plays in key situations.
Yep.
And they have 3 times in a row. And so Bay City off to a great start. A big win over Cameron Yoe on Friday night. We appreciate Coach Lupe Florez for joining us.